Hi, YouTube. My name is Nick. I'm a software engineer, and today I wanted to make a video about AI. Most people are either super against it, most people are either super for it. I'm kind of like in the middle, and I think that this is a viewpoint that is severely underrepresented. Now, this last Sunday, I had like a few hours free, and I decided, well, you know what? I'm just gonna sit and vibe code a small, tiny app that I really wanna, integrate into my daily activities. So I did, and I came up with this app called Web UI Manager, and this is the README for it. Okay, so this is the application itself. And I want to start like this. Coding is basically dead in the way that we used to know it, unless, AI just magically goes away, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I created this app because I'm really into self-hosting, and I host a lot of stuff usually. And if you're into self-hosting, you would know these things usually come with some form of a web UI, whether it's a management dashboard or whatever. And on each server, regardless if the container is, if you're running a virtual machine and then an application in the virtual machine, or a Docker container or whatever, you would know that each application, of course, runs on its own port. And basically, you find the application running on that port. That's how you access it. Okay, people might not know this. But at a certain point, you kind of get a few too many applications, right? And you can't always remember, oh, what port was this thing running on? And to solve this problem, I used to have a spreadsheet, which I was kind of annoyed at Excel blinding me because it doesn't have a proper dark mode at night, especially. So I kind of got fed up with that, and I decided, you know what? I'm gonna make this really tiny ass dashboard, and somebody really ended up liking it and told me, yeah, you should present that. And I was like, yeah, sure, buddy. Okay, so here's the application itself. This is how you set it up. You need to have a MySQL or a MariaDB database running container somewhere. You create a database for this application, and then you use these settings basically to support UTF characters, and then you create a user, and then you need to provide a password for that user, and then you need to use that user password when you connect your app. Okay, let's take a look at the this is the project repository, and this is the Docker hub for the application. There's a small guide on how you set up the Docker compose, and yeah, this is pretty much it. And now here's the application itself. So, okay, first up, when you launch this app, the first thing that you're gonna see is you're gonna basically the application is gonna ask you to bootstrap an admin user and set passwords for it, and those passwords are encrypted via the secret key thingy, which acts as salt, to encrypt user passwords. And encryption goes only one way. And then once you log in, you go in here and you can add like hosts, like, for example, bathroom server 1. It doesn't need to be named, it doesn't need to be formatted in this way, but yeah, it doesn't really matter either. So we create a host, and hosts are these primary groups which you can filter for. I used to have a category called my ass to test with, as you can see. But yeah, servers are these primary categories, or rather groups, that hold, applications that are hosted on those servers. And then you can add in these categories in the same way pretty much. Now, if a category is used by application, or a server is used by an application, you would first have to delete the application to delete a category or a host, but that doesn't really matter. Here's the UI to creating an application. You enter your application name here, what the where the application is hosted, and maybe a description you might need. Then you assign a server to it, and then you assign a category. Then you assign it basically like a category for that thing. You can also store credentials, but keep in mind that even though these credentials are encrypted in the database, specifically this one, which is, for example, if this was a Portainer application on one of the servers, if I encrypt the password for it here, and I can click then on a button to show me that password is easily decryptable in the application. It's not stored in the same way as with the admin password for the admin user of this application. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyways, like, let's say, for example, that my admin user is admin here and my password is ass, and I save this. And now I have this little button here, which I can press on and show credentials. And I can click on the I right here, and it's going to show me ass. Anyways, so yeah, that's how it works. It's pretty dumb. It's pretty simple. The UI, except like the layout idea, was pretty much mine. The way that the UI looks in terms of how it's colored, and this style that we have going on with the gradients kind of meeting each other in the middle, this is all AI. Color palette is all AI, Gemini 2.5 to be specific. And yeah, that's the situation that we have right now. And of course, then you can click on your hosts, and yeah. Now, these icons are usually fetched by the application itself, and it saves the URL for those icons so it can reuse them next time you launch. And that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now let's look at how the project is actually structured. Now on the back end, we have utils. This thing loads up basically various utilities for parsing and so on and so forth. Then we have config for loading the configuration parameters when the app is started from the environment. And this is the authentication handler. And then we have models, and we decided to use Alchemy because I didn't want to deal with an SQL file and auto migrate that in another way. So, ORM and Alchemy. Here we define our entities and what our entities relationships are. All fine and dandy. This app works. I like it. It does the job. Perfect. Like, I did this in like a couple of hours with AI, is my point. Okay? If you want to use the app, I don't care. If it was just me writing the code in a couple of hours, I maybe would have, to be completely straight up honest with you, I maybe would have implemented the entities and the routers. Maybe I wouldn't have implemented the authentication, and maybe without the error pages in a couple of hours, if I really get down and pay attention to what's going on. So there is absolutely no point of coding manually anymore, like as in sitting here and typing code, like 0 point in that. And while all of this is super nice and super awesome and super great, I kind of hate this. Like, first of all, I am a coding enjoyer. It used to give me a lot of enjoyment just to sit down and to work on a problem, explore different aspects, just actually solve the problems yourself. I used to love this. I still love it. but it doesn't make any sense to do anymore. It is just pointless. Just AI just does this. You can review the code. You can see, if you have enough experience, you can see and say something like, "Oh, bro, hold up. We have a problem over here. You made a stupid mistake or something." And it would go in and it would fix the mistake with agents. But initially I really liked AI because instead of me spending sometimes hours to figure out how to use a library because it doesn't have proper documentation, and I would spend hours on threads on Stack Overflow or something, or contacting people who've worked with this library and asking for their perspective or whatever. Instead of doing all this, I'm just now initially I started like, "Hey, how do I use this library?" And it would just give me like examples. And I was like, "Huh." And I would tell it, "Try and give me an example within a particular problem that I have right now to implement." And it would do that. That was useful. And now we have these agentic applications, really useful, huge time saver. I consider myself to be a generalist, and I think that while more and more people like me will become more and more valuable, we are still going to need more and more people like me. Not that I'm the best or the smartest or the most capable, but generalists have the ability to switch in between different multiple domains and recognize, "Oh, this is right and this is wrong, and we should fix this and we should fix that," instead of just spending time exploring little fine detail optimizations, even though I do see the value in that as well. And AI, for me specifically, has been an ultra amplifier. And while I love it, I also hate it. And I'll tell you why I hate it. Outside of the fact that it takes whatever is enjoyable for me, I have noticed, like in recent times, I've noticed because I have talked to Chat GPT and whatever, they probably have a little bit too much information about me at this point, but it doesn't really matter, right? They already had that information anyways. So I have noticed recently, I've had like a couple of different small little interactions with different people. And while I was listening to the other person speaking, I kind of like started hearing certain words and phrases, and what do they call it, Chat GPT ears. I kind of started hearing as if the robot from what they're saying coming out of their mouth, and I was like, "Yo,
The Borgs? They're here!
hold up, hold up, okay?" And I would ask him about it, right? They would admit that, "Yeah, I'm using ChatGPT. How do you know that I'm using ChatGPT, by the way?" And I was like, "Oh, do you want me to tell you that you sound like the robot?"
Eliminate all unassimilated.
As much as these systems are useful tools for specifically for my profession in my field, I think that we have a greater responsibility to limit these systems for the vast majority of users in terms of what they can do. Because this AI girlfriend, AI boyfriend shit, I cannot imagine. Like, I want to meet somebody that has an AI girlfriend or an AI boyfriend. I want to talk to them. That is terribly unhealthy. We have to do something about this. We have to stop literally integrating AI into even though I'm actually guilty of this myself. We have to limit where that thing is integrated. Did you know that robots driven completely by AI make such terrible and such huge mistakes during surgeries that radiologists that fall back and completely trust the AI to analyze the CT scan or whatever, they're starting to lose their ability to read the images because the AI is reading it for them, and the AI makes mistakes on 2/3 of the time. Did you know that? And we have to stop implementing AI into every fucking single aspect of our entire lives. Just stop. Just stop. People are complaining about the hardware prices, bro. Look, I'm invested into some of these companies, and it's a conflict of interest to say that we should pull back, okay? But we should. There's people that believe that when they talk to ChatGPT, they're talking to Jesus. This needs to stop. This thing needs to stop. How did we get here? Like, everybody's so crazy with AI. Like, look, we had social media. We still have social media. Wasn't it enough of a brainwash to make everybody and behave exactly the same through social media? Do we really have to filter down reality with AI to make them even more the same? Bro, it's like the Borg, man. Assimilate now. Assimilate now. It's like the Borg. Hive mind shit. And while, for example, I really like the U.S. But for example, Donald Trump gave like the um, gave like OpenAI and the other AI companies. I don't know how many times I said AI in this video, but he gave them like a free for all, like a completely waiving any regulation and any rules for like 10 years. What are you doing, brother? Do you know the kind of damage you would be causing with this? People, like, AI is cool. I hate it, but it's cool. It's way too convenient to not use. But you're seeing people for elementary shit constantly talking to it. There's people that cannot cook themselves a meal anymore without having to ask AI how to do it.
And do you use ChatGPT when raising your baby?
I do.
What? It's like we offload so much. We tend to offload so much onto it that it starts thinking for us, and I just cannot help but to make comparisons with the what was it, the second renaissance from the Animatrix? Remember that? Except that it's not as futuristic and as epic yet, you know. So yeah, how do you mind control and how do you hive mind the majority of population? How do you completely fucking erase like individuality and the capability of critical thinking? Well, you give people AI with, unlimited capability. You give them AI porn, you give them AI everything. They're just gonna eat it up. People cannot even tell some of the most obvious images. They cannot tell them apart from real world things anymore. I don't understand what we're doing. And for example, I live in the EU, and people praise the EU. Oh, look, we're gonna find all of these big companies and all of these small companies, and we're gonna have like straight up real tight rules on tracking and all that kind of shit. While they themselves, because the EU has a military aspect to it as well and a security aspect to it as well, why they themselves want to create a CBDC. They want the euro to become a CBDC and control that with AI as well. Now, maybe tinfoil hat on here, but shouldn't we question, bro, what are you guys doing partnering with Palantir? What kind of systems are you integrating exactly here? Like, what are we doing here, brother? So I don't know. It's like the Borg are coming. The Borg are coming. And traditional coding is dead. I kind of hate it, but you know, it is what it is. We gotta adapt, boys. And if you're one of the dudes that's like, oh man, if you're one of those dudes that's like, oh, it used to require skill to do this and that and the other, it still does. It still does. And I guarantee you that somebody like me or somebody like that person is way more skilled than the average Joe sitting down and writing an AI app on their laptop and ignoring, not even knowing what kind of mistakes they're making and what kind of security issues online are they exposing themselves to. Because I guarantee you that there's people out there who would actually, for whatever reason, decide that it's a good idea to expose an app like this on the internet and not know any better. Okay? I don't encourage you on doing that, by the way. And if anything, it's the best tool that we've ever had in terms of learning, but we have to use it properly in the first place. Because the tools that we've given people right now it's like giving a madman like a machine gun, you know? Just give them a belt-fed whatever and let them walk down the street. To me, it's actually shocking. I could never believe this, that to see the hive mind in person. And I think that it happened way too soon. And if you think that those companies don't really know that potential, do you not think that the security services, let's just call them that, do you not think that security services aren't really going to take interest into this, as they already have with Palantir and so on and so forth? Do you think that mind control is fake? Let me pull up a small article. I wrote down a point. It's called soft alignment. Soft alignment. And apparently, what soft alignment means is that, well, you know, while you talk to AI, the makers of AI, the ones who filter it to move in a particular direction of what it is that you want to read or hear, you know, they currently direct AI to a vector to basically always agree with you on everything. But that vector could be negative. What if you have a bunch of crazy people running the streets and you give them fucking AI and they're already delusional? They have access to guns and shit, and they talk to it and it starts planting ideas in their head, and just give them time. So if they're crazy enough, those ideas will grow. I would say that's a pretty nice instrument you got there. Pretty nice instrument. And don't feed it your personal information, even though again I'm also guilty of that. Try to self-host if you can. Even though the prices right now are like stupendous. And I think that we should regulate as soon as possible. People who are tech savvy should definitely try and educate others as quickly as possible, because this hive mind shit, we I don't know, bro. I like it and I hate it, and it is what it is. Live long and prosper. Peace out.